For the last bit of the code is outputting the information, although I'm going to do a bonus video where you can do a few extra things as well. So we've now got an extra outer loop. This is just solely for the output. So for student is students, name equals student node. So let me explain that, okay? Now the 2D array students, okay, contains the name of the student followed by the mark, as I demonstrated in the last video. Now what we want to do is for every student, we want to extract their name and their marks separately, so we can output that information, okay? So in this loop, as every student runs, we take out their information from that particular element in the array. So remember, it's a 2D array, so the first element, 0 and 1, 2, etc., contain the name and the marks of individual students. So inside there, we're extracting the first element for every single student, or the current student that we're on, which is their name. And then from 1 to the end of their element, we're extracting the next part. So this would look something like this. Dave Moore would be element 0. And then we've got the marks for every single subject. I'm going to simply write these as 3, 4, 5. So the mark for maths, the mark for English, the mark for science, the mark for history, and the mark for geography. Then we'd have the next student here, and the next student, etc. So you can see there, for every time this loop runs, we want to be pulling out the information for each particular student. So first time, it's student 0 in the students list. So remember, this is the students list. So if I just put that, this is what that would look like. So you can see there, each one of these is a separate element in that list. So the first time the loop runs, it's on 0. So we pull out Dave's name. Then from element 1 to the end, which is this bit, we pull out the marks and we pass them to this list here. It automatically puts them into a list, well, technically into a variable. And then what we do is from that information we can calculate an average. So the average equals round sum marks, so this list here, divided by the length of marks. So this has got 5 elements, so we sum them together and divide them, and that's how we calculate the mean average. You should know that from mathematics. Then what I do is print out the name of the student. Okay, so I print out the name of the student that's been passed to this list here that it's creating. Okay, so it creates a separate list. This one only contains the name, this one contains the marks, okay? So, we print the name, we format it, and it's going to create a new line every time. So that's what the /n does. So it creates a new line. So every student's going to have their own separate line. It's not going to look messy. And then it says, then it passes the name to it, has the following marks. Then we've got this internal for loop. Now what this internal for loop does is we'll run for the number of subjects that's stored in marks by using the subjects list that we've got, because it's got 5 subjects in, so we can easily use that, and it basically formats that in a neat way. So it tabs them, puts in the subject name I, which is what we're looking at in the list here, so the first subject, the second subject, the third subject, etc. It pads it out to 11 characters, so if it's not 11 characters it makes it 11, so we're using that formatting function again. So if it's less than 11, make it 11 basically, and then we tab it and we output the marks I with a colon. So it will output, so it outputs the name and the mark, and then formats that mark. Okay, so don't forget it puts a colon there as well, and then a tab. And now this is the important bit. Part of the criteria is I wanted you to output all of the marks as 3 digits. So if the student got 1, it would output 001. If they got 23, it would output 023. If they got 67, it would 067 be output. If they got 100, it would just output 100. So everything's going to be 3 digits. Okay? So that's what that bit does there. It outputs that in the correct format that I asked for in the extension activity. Okay? And then just outside of that internal for loop, we print the average for an individual student. And again, we use the same formatting feature that we used for each subject. So the tab, the name, which is average in this case because we don't have a subject called average. And then we've got, if the length is less than 11, we pad it out to 11 and we create a tab. And we also format the average here to 3 digits. And you'll also notice, I didn't mention this, but we've added a percentage sign to the end of each one. I suppose in a way I could have added the average to marks here, to be fair, but I didn't. I chose to print it as a separate line. Maybe I'll show you how to do that another time. Okay, so let's see how this program actually runs now. So now it's finished with the basic things that I asked for. I'm going to run it again. And I'm going to enter, let's enter 2 students so you can see how this works. I'm going to enter Dave, and I'm going to put loads of spaces so you can see how it works. Remember I used all those strip commands. I'm going to enter their mark for maths. So let's try and enter 101. Rejects it. Okay, ask me for it again. -1, rejects it. I can add 0, but I'm not going to. I'm going to be generous, I'm going to give them 67. And for English, they got 98. You'd expect Mr. Moore to get 98 there. And then science, I'm going to give him 78. History, well, definitely get 100% in that, wouldn't he? And then geography, I'm going to give him a 95%. Okay. Enter student's name. So this is the second student. Okay. So I'm going to enter Niall Scarlett. Okay. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a load of prefixed random spaces just to show you how it will format. I'm going to add it really weird, his name, to show you how it standardizes. Maths, he's good at maths, I'm going to give him 100. English, let's give him 89%. Science, 78. History, 89. Again, geography, let's give him 54. And you see there, the information is output exactly how I wanted. Dave Moore is the following marks: maths, English, sciences, geography. Notice the new line every time it prints: 67, 98, 78, 100, 95, and the average, which is rounded because of the round command, is 88%. He's done slightly better than Mr. Scarlett. He's got 100 in maths, English 89%, 78 in science, history in 89, geography 54, and 82 is his average. So that's the program. That's all the extension activities formatted correctly. Now I will add a couple of bonus things in the next video just to show you how we can give better prompts to the user, how I can move the average so we don't have to print it as a separate line, and also how we can get the max mark for each subject, the minimum mark, the average mark for each subject. Just a couple of extra things that I thought might be useful to look at. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this series of videos. Look for the bonus when I get around to doing it. And if you haven't done so already, like and subscribe. Big shout out to Mr. Cullen there, who's one of my latest subscribers for Python. So thanks for subscribing there.